Hi everyone, it's Natalie here, coming to you under the cover of darkness. I just had a really interesting experience that I wanted to share. I seem to be having a lot of those lately, kind of fun. I think I started my channel doing more of those, and I feel like I want to get back to doing some more because sometimes those experiences are just too rich not to put out there and share with a community who really gets it. So I did finally get my copy of the Spirit Speak Tarot. And yesterday, it's Monday now, yesterday I went ahead and recorded a walkthrough. It's a delightful deck. I'm absolutely thrilled with this deck and completely in love with Mary Elizabeth Evans and her perspective. And her way of drawing the cards and creating decks, and it's just so different. It's so different than the way my mind works, and yet it's such a great complement to the way my mind works, if that makes sense. So I had this really delightful deck interview because I thought, great, now that I've had a chance to walk through the deck and unpack it, I can go ahead and interview it and then begin working with it for my tarot pulse spreads. And what I found in past is that if I get a new deck and I don't take the time to do a walkthrough, or rather, if I don't take the time to do an interview with the deck, what begins to happen is that the deck will start to conduct that interview with me through those tarot pulse spreads. And so the first few can be really misleading and kind of off a little bit until I've gotten used to the rhythm of the deck and so on and so forth. I'm curious if anyone else has that experience, not necessarily with the tarot pulse spread, but just with a new deck. You know what I mean? Like if you don't take the time to really have a dialogue or an in-depth getting to know you conversation, does it do funny things? Like, does it try and have that conversation with you? I'm just curious. Anyway, so that dialogue was beautiful. I think we're going to be very happy together. I'm very happy to report we'll be very happy together. It's my new friend. And so I went ahead and I laid out my tarot pulse spread, and I talked to the deck and I told it how this whole thing works. And I said, this is how this spread works, and here's the purpose, and, here's why I'm doing it. And, I will just talk to the deck like I'm talking to a person. And so I laid out my whole doodah. And the first of the four it's because I'm trying to talk and I'm on a camera. Virtues? I hope that's right. Lisa will correct me if it's not. But the first of the four cards that, working with justice, temperance, strength, and the hermit. The first of them was justice. And with justice came the Six of Swords, right? Which I'm sure all of us have meanings for. And I thought, that's interesting. What am I sort of being, delivered from? Or what kind of like waves in the water? Or what kind of burning fire am I being delivered from? And away from, and so on. Well, when I opened up the little Spirit Speak book and read the meaning behind this card. Oh heavens, where did it go? Okay, the swords are here we go. I don't know if you can see it, but it says literally a passing, the literal death card, moving on to a calmer place. A woman has traveled away from a fiery city and has moved past all the swords that tried to impale her on the way. Now she can go and live in peace or rest. So obviously we don't have to interpret it as the literal death card. And I thought, oh, that's really curious. I wonder why that came up. Well, I mean, there's no irony. Obviously, I'm a death doula, so, death is going to come up in cards all the time anyway, but, things that could signify death. But what's really interesting about this is that maybe an hour and a half before I sat down to do this one, I was super excited because I had a reading for Wednesday with a friend. And she called me this afternoon and said, I'm so sorry, can we reschedule for next week? Because there's been a very sudden death in my family. And I can't do the reading on Wednesday. So it was really interesting. It was just really interesting that it wanted to make sure that I knew it would comment on this is literally what's going on in your 24-hour cycle. This just is part of it. There's been a literal death. Here's other information, in other news. You're clearly very annoyed. Here's the 5 of Wands, etc., etc. Not about the cancellation of this, more about I made a video a little bit earlier this evening that explains that better and talks about the Empress card. I had a day at school with lots of annoyance from the kids. Not the special needs kids, just middle school kids being middle school kids. They can be very annoying, especially at this time of year. They're really done, and so are all of the teachers. But it's temporary. It's not going to last very long. But I had to share, like, hey, this is so funny. I didn't realize that in this deck she would have created a literal, something that she puts in that kind of plain language is a literal death card. But its appearance, when someone called to cancel or reschedule a tarot reading, to say, listen, I can't because of a death in the family. I thought that was really, really interesting and worth sharing. Anyway, boogity boogity. Thank you for watching, everyone. Have a beautiful week.